Hello, listeners, and welcome to this, the 41st episode of the Heresy Accountability Buddies podcast. I'm Jacob, and this episode I'm joined by...
Dan.
Duncan.
Perfectly symmetrical Jack.
The pollinating that is John.
Jamie.
And Zach.
And we're glad to have you with us. We are recording this the day that we've gotten all the big news out of Warhammer Fest. So we'll have that to talk to, as well as, with John's return, the opportunity to get some insights from somebody who's pretty familiar with the militia army list, and talk about how it squares up in the new edition. But of course, before we get to either of those items, we've got to do hobby progress. Gentlemen, who wants to get us started?
Yeah, so apart from becoming infested with 3/4 of all the yellow dust in the air in the great state of Texas, I was absent last week because I was in San Francisco for a work trip. But while down there, I managed to grab a bunch of random oddball booth handouts for use as terrain. Some companies were giving away custom-made action figures at the convention, so I grabbed a couple of those to blow up to make cool random shapes. I also got a bunch of Predator turrets and some knights, and so I started cleaning up resin knights to get an announcement that we'll talk about later, just waved in my face. And then my buddy came by and picked up all of his stuff, but also we built a list for him, and he figured out what things he's going to be missing for his Mechanicum list, and so I've got another friend that joined the hobby, so that's good to see him coming back in. He used to play 40k with me back in 5th, 6th, and 7th editions, so it's good to see him come back into the hobby. And then I've been priming some other things. I got some other random stuff in the mail, from hatches for sabers all the way to some extra knight arms and guns and things like that, so just been kind of doing random stuff, getting ready to do more and more airbrushing as time goes on. And then I dug out some of my rollers and things so I can start also doing knight bases as I prepare to work on my knights more in full force to try to get everything done for September. And then I built a bunch of lists while I was on the plane, so I've got some ideas for where I want to move my Ultramarines next, as well as the base knights that I'm going to run in my army, as well as the Mechanicum that I'm going to work on with my friend at the same time. So that's everything I've been up to. We'll go to Dan. Dan, what have you been doing?
I have been doing nothing on miniature wargaming hobby. So I think I mentioned before, but I'm prepping to go with Boy Scouts to Philmont, which is a mountainous region in New Mexico. We're going for 12 days. I'm going to be hiking. Because I'm, like many of us, a fat, middle-aged white guy, I need to get into shape because I will be carrying a 40 to 50 pound pack for those 12 days up and down the side of a mountain. So I've been doing lots of exercising, trying to eat healthy, losing weight, getting gear ready. Was on an outing this weekend and found out that I need to buy more gear because my gear was inefficient. So yeah, that's been taking all my time, along with my son is finishing up his last stuff for Eagle Scout. So I am sitting down painting some Massive Darkness miniatures right now with contrast paint, and that's the first time I've been at the hobby table since last Sunday when we recorded. So yeah, so lots of nothing, but good stuff outside of hobby taking my time away. So with that, Duncan, what do you got going on, man?
I actually decline. I will punt to Zach. I'll go after a little bit.
I'm going to try this again. Sorry, my can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
We
Okay,
can,
there
in
we go.
fact.
Yeah, so my entire time since Adepticon has been just college classes. So I take my final for this semester this week, and then I start my next class next week. So it's just going to keep continuing on. I've done zero hobbying. I keep getting my stuff out. I keep trying to get something going, but all my time is in with studying, mailing back deassorted lost and found items from Adepticon that I brought with me, and people eventually have messaged me saying, "Hey, I'm missing this item or that item. Did you see it?" And then I'll go through my box and go, "Yep, I have it here," and then toss it in the mail and send it back to them. But yeah, no real hobby stuff. I picked up from Ned. I picked up a whole bunch of Seraphon stuff, which doesn't apply to Heresy. I got out my Ultramarines, but I just haven't painted anything because by the time I get everything out, it's like I'm exhausted and want to go to bed. And that's been it. Sorry, I'm a disappointment. I'm letting everybody down.
How dare you, Zach? How dare you? So who are you kicking it to? Who are you kicking the hobby progress off to?
He's Jamie.
Okay, so what did I do this week to finish hobby? I finished up my Inner Circle Knights finally, and I've posted pictures for everybody to see as proof of life, because like everybody knows, they've been taking an absolute forever for me to get finished with, and I'm pretty happy with them. The pictures don't really do justice because I don't have great lighting away from my workbench, but I have that. I've bought more stuff, so like I've got more Land Raiders, and then I also have I've been still organizing more stuff in my workspace, so I'm a bit more efficient. But I also started painting 3 sabers out of the 11 or so that I have primed right now. And then there was I've done a lot of stuff behind the scenes, working on getting stuff squared away for Toys for Tots. I've got a bunch of shipments of stuff coming in from people all around the United States, and I've had some people inquire about possibly donating money from outside the United States because shipping's so bad to send stuff. But yeah, trying to get all that squared away. I know Ned helped us out a little bit with. He finally got around to doing the White Scars list for that, and so I'm going through that, trying to break everything down to see if what all we need to get for that. And then we got a bunch of all the word bearer stuff. There's like a massive amount of word bearer stuff that's already here, so that's very cool. So I will hand it off to Jack.
Howdy, gentle viewers. Hope everybody's doing well this fine afternoon. My hobby for this week has been very scattershot. I ordered a Elgu Saturn 8K. That came in on a Monday. As soon as I turned on the screen to it, it died. And every time I tried to turn it on, it would power cycle. So Amazon, Mr. Basil, Jeffy as I call him because we're like that. That's how close me and Jeffy are. Sent me a new one that came in on Thursday, and it did the exact same thing. I was using the original power brick, so I changed out the power brick, and it was the power brick for the printer the whole entire time. Thank you, years upon years upon years of tech troubleshooting for that one clear moment of thinking on my behalf. Since then, I have printed up not the Emperor of Mankind. I shrunk him down so he would print smaller to see how well the resolution was on it, because last time I printed was with a Anycubic Photon, and Jesus Christ, we have came a long way. It's freaking insane. So
you got an 8K, right, Jack?
Yeah, 8K. Yeah.
I have a 4K, and I'm pretty happy with it. It's taken a little while to get it tuned in, but when it works, it does very, very well. Very good print. So
do you have one 8K or do you have 2 8Ks? Or did your friend Jeffy?
I sent the other one back to Jeffy. I still want to stay on good terms with old Jeffy Poo.
Okay.
I backed Elgu's recent Kickstarter. Going right now is a laser cutter.
Oh yeah,
20-watt laser cutter that's got quick swappable parts.
If I had room for something like that, I would buy it. But as it sits right now, I'm pretty sure the miss is going to kill me.
I looked out that my missus wants to use it more than I do, so
put your printer in the wheel for Duncan just to make sure it stays not in the group. Just saying.
Jack, did you get a wash station too?
I did get a wash and cure station, and that's fantabulous.
Did you get the Mercury 2-in-1, or did you get the separate ones?
I got the separate ones.
Okay.
Because the footprint on them were so small, it
That's what if you get one of the Saturns, I'd recommend getting the two separate ones if you could. I mean, I got the all-in-one just because space was a big issue. But...
Yeah. No, those were there was small enough that it would fit in the table I have. See here, I also worked on see here, Samus, Demon Prince of the Runestorm for the Toys for Tot army. I did a test batch of red on him to see how it looks, and I think it looks really well. So he's actually going to be base coated black all over again because there's not a good red demon skin tutorial or video on YouTube. So I'm going to try my hand at doing a full version of that. So that should be entertaining. And then I did an unboxing video for R5 stickers. I let Monty know. He was very, very pleased with my report of the rigidity of the cardboard in the package. So that was his big takeaway was rigidity.
It's if y'all have not watched it, it's worth it. It's a pretty funny video.
I was trying to keep it funny and really, really stupid.
You got the second part done.
I figured I could. Outside of that, Sam's Club was running a special on Loctite Super Glue, 4 bottles for $9. So I went ahead and bought 2 packs of those. Yeah, and then I'm going to kick it off to Duncan holding a bottle of Loctite Super Glue. He's asking for it.
The next time that you go there, if they have more, I definitely could use more because
it is on clearance right now. So next time I swing by, I will check.
All right, thank you, sir. Since I use the exact same super glue, yes, that's the good stuff right there. I could smell that all day long. Just sit there and huff it. Let's see, what have I done this week? Well, I'll start off with today and work backwards. Today I went to Costco and I spent like $250 on meat. I bought 22. I bought 22 pounds of pork spare ribs that I'm going to convey to a friend of mine who happens to have a smoker. So since I do not have a smoker, and just so that everyone knows, I highly recommend that everyone carry a pocket jack around with them, so that they can do all kinds of things like provide you with a glue at conventions, supply you with a knife at conventions, supply you with tools at conventions,
drive you to said conventions,
reserve said hotel room for said conventions, help you find food at said conventions, pack around any firearms that you may need that you do not take to said conventions, and generally carry around a general life survival kit,
menagerie,
and a smoker, because Jack has a smoker and I don't. But I do have a Costco membership, so there was that. Other than that, this week I have set up for the first time ever, I have set up a Discord server. That's been really lots and lots of fun getting that set up, trying to figure out how to make that work. Thank you to all the current people who are currently here helping us record tonight, for helping me fiddle with stuff and look at stuff and see if we want to add anything to the general Heresy Accountability Buddies Discord server that will be dropping shortly. And big shout out to Jamie for providing me with a giant pile of left-handed thunderhammers that I needed to make some Justarin. I now have 10 Justarin sitting over here in the process of being painted. I have done the 7 steps required to get the various black shade down on them. I've got the whites down for their paterges and their gold trim, and I've got the red on their shoulder pads and knee pads. Other than that, I do not like the generic Abaddon figure for that comes with Loken. I'm not really a fan of it. I've got the official one. I've had it for a couple of years, never did anything with it. But while making a list, I discovered that the generic Cataphractii Praetor with the black reaving right does not qualify to deep strike in with Justarin, whereas Abaddon does. So I have the Abaddon figure, and I have the generic Sons of Horus Cataphractii Praetor, and I decided that the generic Cataphractii Praetor looks more like Abaddon than Abaddon does. So I swapped sword and claw and head on those two models, and I've made my own Abaddon, who obviously is Abaddon. And then I've also, with the Abaddon body, been able to make a herald with a banner for the squad, and of course with a thunderhammer, because why not? Other than that, I've started cleaning up gating and everything from a World Eater's Contemptor for a paint contest over at RFI. So it's about all I've done past week, other than work. But been productive, I think. Hopefully, I can have most of these Justerin done several more steps down the path before the end of this week, and be able to finish them before the end of the month, and be able to start work on this Contemptor. But that's neither here nor there. So, Jacob, I don't think we've heard much from you regarding your hobby progress yet, sir.
We haven't. I haven't gotten into too much because this marks now 1 week until moving day. So if you guys record next week, I will most likely not be able to make that. But that finished up some home renovations. Fiance and I hung some curtains over this weekend. Finished ripping out the last of any of the old flooring through the house, getting up spikes and staples and everything like that. Finally, almost there. Like the finish line is right there. And that's pretty exciting, all things considered. There's been a lot of things she and I have both been getting rid of to make room for the other. As well as just stuff that we're realizing that we just don't need or use or want anymore. So that's pretty all right. Yeah, so that's been most of it. And of course, in addition to that, my parents are squaring up for their move. They're moving out of state to be closer to my sister and brother-in-law and the one soon-to-be 2 grandchildren. They won't be there full time, but of course that's been another set of moves that I've had to be on hand for. Nevertheless, even though it's not the hobby progress that we talk about making on here, it still feels pretty good, all things considered. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I'm looking forward to the opportunity to rebuild the hobby room and start getting paint on models again, whether that means Battletech or Heresy, and hopefully also that means getting a chance to start testing out some army builds in Heresy and figure out if or what my path forward is going to be. So once again, if you have experience with drop pods in this edition, and or more specifically experience with Thousand Suns this edition, I'd love to hear from you. Don't be afraid to reach out, drop me a DM, or otherwise email us, show@heresypodcast.com. With all of the hobby progress behind us, I think that takes us into this week's news items. Are we right?
I'm pretty sure that's close.
Sounds right to me.
Yeah, so for those of you somehow unaware or missed the announcement earlier in the episode, we did get, after, I think about 2 weeks of absence, we did get some Heresy Thursday, or not Heresy Thursday, Heresy Sunday this week. We got the previews for the Siege of Chthoniya. No rules, to my knowledge, previewed, but about the next 12 to 18 months of roadmap laid out, as well as some previews of some models that we got there. Just to kind of kick the conversation off, we do have our first plastic Cerastus Knight, the Lancer. I definitely did not immediately see that coming, and neither did another member of the show.
I don't think anybody did. That was like way out of left field.
I also bought one this year, so I I also was not expecting that by a long shot. So
Yeah,
Looks
definitely didn't see that one coming. I finished the night before, literally the night before, cleaning up four Cerastus that I got in the mail.
I will say, I mean, it's always been a gorgeous model. It's probably my favorite of the Night Sculpts. And there's nothing wrong with seeing it in plastic, but I did not expect them to be going that route with that model. It's an odd choice.
One
Not
thing I thought
bad,
was a little
just
odd.
odd.
So,
Even
do y'all
even
want
odder
my?
is the-
hey, John's.
Yep, sorry. The one thing I thought was even a little odder is someone bugged Forge World after the announcement, and they said, "How posable are the legs?" And Forge World's response was, and I'm going to kind of paraphrase, "No, not really." And so it looks like it's going to be about as posable as the first gen Questoris Knight.
Yeah. Yep, and that's unfortunate, but given that we've talked about how very clearly moving tanks into plastic was a strong financial decision by Games Workshop / Forge World. You do away with a lot of the QC problems that have plagued Forge World off and on, as well as the manufacturing costs. So anything they can do to lower the price on this kit, even if their margins are higher, ultimately is going to look very consumer friendly. And
I could see it coming in like $200, and then even then, I could see people still picking it up for. I mean, a lot of events have night jousts when the events are over, and ways to kind of kill time between games. So
They already said there was going to be rules for it for 10th edition. Like I saw that in one of their discords today. So I mean, they've set it up so that it's not just for Heresy. So.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to see that a lot moving forward. Which there's nothing wrong with it. If they can double dip and we get stuff and other people get stuff, I'm perfectly okay with that.
as long as it doesn't go crazy, like 10th edition models coming into 30K, I think we'll all be good with it.
So it's interesting. I was pretty aghast when you first said $200, but yeah, it looks like the
Knights have gone up a lot since they very first came out. So.
The smaller of the plastic Knight chassis is 170, and the wider ones are 185. So yeah, that wouldn't surprise me if they're going to try to position the Cerastus probably somewhere between 180 and 1. I would like to say 190, but it wouldn't surprise me to see this drop at 200.
100 makes it.
And right now it's 345.
Yeah, I was about to say.
And it's the gateway to the Archeron and the Castigator, because they're all the same body.
Yep.
So
all the
yeah, and then the level up with the Atropos kit.
Yep.
Yep.
That's a big kit too, by the way. If y'all don't have one, that
Speaking as someone who owns one Knight and it's only assembled and never been even looked at with a paintbrush, I'm glad they're doing this. I'm glad it's going to be not just Heresy exclusive, because that'll probably lead to more people purchasing it and it counting for sales for GW for the Heresy line, which should help hopefully bump us and provide us with more incentive for GW to give us more love.
So
I mean, you don't think they'll do the Armiger packaging where they have Heresy and 40K packaging differently? I guess they do have different transfers in them, don't they? But
yep.
Yeah.
So what's interesting is the Lancer actually shows up on our new roadmap. This new roadmap, for what it's worth, when we first started the new edition of Heresy, we did have kind of a month-by-month breakdown for the first 6-ish months. After failing to meet those goals, Games Workshop seems to have decided that discretion is the better part of valor, and given us now a quarterly schedule. And if we get other things in addition to this schedule, we will be expected to be grateful. And we will simply hope that they're able to keep to this schedule better than what they were able to keep to the tail end of the Heresy schedule.
I mean, it's fairly generalized. I mean, like
right. So we have listed on here two rows, one for plastic and one for resin. And the Knight Lancer is the plastic item that's coming to us in summer. But before we get the Knight Lancer, that means the Vindicator is on the way. And then also in that same track, so the Vindicator is supposed to be coming out nebulously in spring. the Night Lancer. Then in summer, autumn sees us, quote unquote, more Lords of War. So I'm betting that that's going to be the Space Marine Baneblade chassis. It just says Dreadnought.
Dorado. It's a Dorado.
Yep.
I'm
They
betting
pictured
it's going to be the. I didn't see. I guess I never saw the Dorado end up in pictures.
They had pictures of the new book, and like all the new plastic kits were in it, and there was a Dorado in the background.
I did see that the new book is looking pretty chunky, which has some people pretty cautiously optimistic about it as far as the content, both narrative and mechanical. We are getting something nebulously identified as Armor Mark Update. That Armor Mark Update, to us, or at least to me, seems to correlate with a picture that we have of Mark 2-3 hybrid armor that seems to have been done up in the new scale that's consistent with the Mark 6 Marines, which are in the current plastics, as well as with the tank commanders who are poking out of the top hatches of various tanks. Very cool. I'm frustrated that it's going to be 12 months from the release of Heresy before we see a second Marine troop choice in plastic, but I suppose we will take what we can get, especially because people seem to generally be pretty excited for that.
Yeah, I kind of wish that the arrows were going the other way and that we were getting the infantry first, but...
Yep.
You just mean in the new scale, right?
Yes.
You can still purchase the other in the slightly smaller scale.
If I had to bet the Mark III kit that's out, I could see a world where that gets discontinued, but I hope that's not the case, especially for people who have armies built on the back of the original plastic Mark III and Mark IV kits. I would really hate to see them pushed onto the new kits and make their armies a little discordant in that regard.
Cough, me.
I'm personally hoping that they're actually going to call this Mark V, which is just a conglomeration of other stuff all kind of welded together to make functional armor.
Which would explain...
They could have like a torso for every mark and a leg for every mark and just call it Mark V and just have like a giant...
And their Twitter channel also did confirm that they are working on boarding Marines too.
Yep, I saw that.
Marines. Yep.
So,
but
that would fit with this.
Yeah, before we get to there, we do have then the winter plastic announcement. So this is in the plastic slot. For winter, it says Mystery Army Release and Assault Squad. So we did get the CAD renderings for a Mark 6 Assault Squad. They look a little awkward to me, but hopefully if they're still in the drafting stage, we've still got a little bit of time to iron that out. But Mystery Army Release, many of us have been speculating that might be Plastic Mechanicum, especially in light of a tease that some Dark Tagmata items are going to be in the campaign book. Otherwise, there's been some speculation that I've been putting out that that to me could be a Demons Army release, given that the Demons PDF is very much kind of a splat. Sure, it doesn't have Korax Utterblight in it, but basically everything that's in it is just Forge World kits. And if they were looking to fold the 40k kits into Heresy armies, they could have theoretically put that in that PDF. So if we were waiting for a more fully formed army release, that might be coming in that slot.
Can I throw another possibility in?
Hit me.
Sisters of Silence.
Yeah, it's certainly possible. I don't know what units that army is missing, but
the jet bike.
I don't think. Yeah, I don't think it's highly likely, but it's it'd be another possibility because it'd be like another multi, it's like hybrid. Demons. You could it's like a hybrid kit because you can also use them in 40k too. So
I'm not really. I mean, they're in the Talons of the Emperor.
Yeah.
So I'm not really sure if they're going to get their whole a whole army release. I wouldn't really expect it. I'd actually more expect something like a full up plastic Solar Rocks line,
Yeah.
or the Tagmata, or the Demons. My money, realistically, since Forge World has said this is how you can do Solar Rocks, this is how you can do militias.
Yeah.
My money is realistically going to be on either the Dark Mech or straight up a Mechanicus army.
Yeah, I mean, I think those are the two most likely, and then Demon would probably be a close follow. But
that takes us then to next spring, allegedly, or on the docket, a Legion command squad and nebulously melee weapons. We talked about it on an earlier show. If they were able to put together a melee kit in the same way that they put together the gun upgrades kit, we'd be very pleased with that offering. And the Legion command squad, I don't know if that's going to be, given that the boxes we've been seeing up to this point have been 20-man boxes, I would bet the Legion command squad is going to be a 10-man box, so kind of a double wide of the old Sternguard veterans kit. It could start at 5, but I would really almost expect to see that somewhere in 5 or 10, and you get models that are closer to character sculpt quality or busyness rather than just being
We all know
rank-and-file
those are gonna be beakies, right? Everybody knows that.
Yep.
So nobody should be surprised otherwise.
so I would say it's going to go a 5, but with it being 5, it's probably going to have like extra sprues of just like tons of upgrade options for like the rest of the army, because that's kind of what they've done with the HQ kits in the past.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I could see 10, but if it's 10, I think I see it with like a couple apothecary and a couple of
Chaplain or something like that.
Well, what's the mechanic that you can put 10 Tech Marine?
Tech Marine.
Yeah. If we
It's in
got
there.
if we got a, so 40K did have the 5-man character box or 5-man command squad box that had the standard bearer, the apothecary, the champion, and just 2 other build them as you please type guys. I could see that being a chance here. I think that would be awesome if we got plastic apothecary and tech marine bits in that kit. I think that would sell very well. I think that given that standards seem to be something that people want to put in the armies, even if they're not running the actual official rules for standards, just as a way to like signify this is this guy or this is my sergeant or whatever, ways to delineate who's what squad. I could see that kit going over very well.
The only reason I say I don't see that is because command squads, yes, they have a banner, but right now you can't attach an apothecary or a tech marine to a command squad.
Oh yeah.
Very, very interesting that they have not shown any rules or referenced any FAQs. But that's neither here nor there. If we get then to the end of that plastic preview roadmap, then we have our resin options. Our resin options in spring are going to be the Imperial Fists Evander Garius, which is the large bear-cloaked fist-mounted double Volkite thing that the Imperial Fists are getting, as well as Sons of Horus Varen Ashurhadon. That is the guy with the axe and the dagger, who's got kind of a 40k style dangle a couple skulls off it banner. I find it a little interesting that they didn't list the Tank Commander Decurion models as a spring release, so I almost wonder if those are going to end up part of the summer release, along with the Chainsword and Bolt Pistol kit that we saw previewed. Spoiler for what's allegedly coming up in summer. Does somebody want to kick us off with some strong thoughts or opinions on the Sons of Horus model? Because I have one for the Imperial Fist that I'll leverage here in a second, but...
Yeah,
The axe is fantastic.
Yep. Yeah, the axe is nice. He's covered in more stylized Eyes of Horus than most Ultramarines are covered in U's. and I think I'm going to have a lot of sanding to do on that fist model to remove all those logos.
Yeah, I definitely feel like, and I brought it up a little bit last episode, but I think that content may have ended up cut. Models are staying very busy for characters, or I'm sorry, the fact that this guy is so busy really draws attention to the fact that the librarian had quality bits, but as a standalone model was very forgettable.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to getting this guy. I don't care about his rules. I just want to get the model, probably 2 of them, and then I'm going to convert one of them to a random generic HQ, and the second one I'll have as a special guy for if I ever play the campaign or whatever they have. But speaking as a Sons of Horus player, I kind of like the fact that he looks as utterly blinged out for Horus as he does, because it just shows the idea behind the fluff for the true sons being the guys who consider themselves the number one Sons of Horus, as opposed to like the Justarian or the First Company or the Reavers or anything like that. I'm gonna buy him. Like I said, I'm probably gonna buy him twice. The Imperial Fist, probably not. But that's, I try to avoid buying Imperial Fist stuff to not encourage GW or Imperial Fist players.
I'll also float. I bet you're going to see more than a few Alpha Legion players do like John mentioned, pick this guy up, tidy him up a little bit, and they'll either use him as an Audlin score for as long as that model remains out of production, and or they'll pick him up just to get that left-handed dagger bit.
Yeah.
I wouldn't blame him. That left-handed dagger is pretty sweet.
I can't wait till third-party people make a copy of that axe, since it looks like the Son of Horus logo.
Yes,
Yeah,
that
got the like sweeping eye.
Yeah, that right there, just that.
Chef's kiss.
Yeah, chef's kiss indeed.
On the go ahead, John.
So we also have the inductee to talk about and the other stuff that came up.
Yeah, we'll get to that just a second. The Imperial Fist, I definitely feel like they had leftover like
Space Wolf
concepts for the Terminator guy who we got in 40K for the Imperial Fists, and they were like, we can just put a Space Wolf pelt on this model, and he's definitely a different model if we do that. Because he looks very similar to how that Imperial Fist armor looked, the kind of cataphracty dialed to 11 look. I'll be interested to see how his rules shake out and what he does. I bet that's going to be a Solarite Power Gauntlet. I bet that gun is probably either going to be a twin-linked
Gladius
3 to 5 shot Volkite weapon.
Yeah.
Which is going to be interesting. And to a certain extent, even though, again, I kind of lament the rich get richer when it comes to Imperial Fists and Sons of Horus, for an army that has more than a few unique cataphracty elements to it, or has had over the years, seeing a named character in cataphracty armor is nice.
I'm curious. It could be that the same sculptor sculpted this guy too, right? So sometimes that's just, you get sculptors that have similar concepts when they do different models, even if they're for different lines.
Yep, and I'm pretty sure that the actual sculptor is intern Bob with AutoCAD.
Looks like he's gotten a lot better since his last Space Wolf sculpt.
Maybe they promoted him from intern to actual regular employee by now.
Or the AI got a little better.
The cape is a little chunky for me. I get that he's coming out in resin, but that's a little thick. But the fur definitely has a better quality of texture to it than the Space Wolf models did.
One thing I want to say, and I really want it to not shock or offend anybody, but his chest plate is kind of boring. I mean, look at most other cataphracty chest plates or cataphracty characters. His just looks kind of meh. I mean, I'm not complaining about it. It's a new model. And it's got bling on other bits of him, but the chest plate, I think, needs
Unfortunately,
It just seems kind of like it needs
I
work.
almost feel like you couldn't do anything with the chest piece because you've got the paterges coming off the shoulders there, plus you've got the claws on the shoulders, you've got those like rope belts along with the belt paterges.
If you look, there's like stylized Templar crosses on his chest and on his right knee, and then behind that stylized cross, it looks like a little castle being built. So I think,
or being shattered by that Templar cross.
either way, you've got like Imperial fisty things on it. So it may not be like bam over the top, and that's kind of the paint job too. It's very just yellow.
Yeah, I'm not complaining about the paint job at all.
He's also chosen to upgrade his tactical rock to a tactical dead Sons of Horus that appears to still have a smoldering
reactor.
I guess they're treating that as a Volkite wound. I don't know that reads like a Volkite wound to me. That to me almost looks like Melta, but for some reason, like, you were too far away, so the Melta didn't bore all the way through. Volkite to me never felt, especially because of, you know, the muzzle shape of it, never felt cylindrical.
How about Disruptor Blast?
Yeah, I thought Volkite was more like Mars Attacks lasers. I mean, so the skinlessness makes sense, but the smoldering ruins doesn't.
Yeah. But hey, I mean, you get another Sons of Horus guy when you buy that model, so I'm good with it.
That's our second Mark II model.
Yep. John, did you want to bring up a little bit of chit-chat about the inductees?
Yeah, so the other thing that we got, you know, if you watched the live stream, was a collage of a whole bunch of Legionnaires, one from every Legion, staring straight on with Mark VI armor, while they talked about what the inductees are and the logic behind what they're trying to do with them. And I missed the fact that they're going to have special rules apart from just a new troops choice. But they mentioned specifically that these guys are sped into the ranks, and to the point where they have a different culture, base culture, than a lot of the Legion. And they specifically mentioned, like, the Emperor's children view some of their inductee as lessers, and so they don't let them wear the Palatine Aquila. And then that some of them, like if they go to Space Wolves, they're a little angrier than usual Space Wolves because they have the Canis Helix, but they don't learn how to control it because they don't get the 20 years of psycho indoctrination in coffins and being fed wolf blood and then kicked out onto the snow and all that other stuff. So it'll be interesting to kind of build your Legion theming around the fact that maybe, you know, you've got a new lieutenant, that maybe he was just a line sergeant. All of a sudden, you know, 500-600 dudes show up and they need a new commander, and you get promoted from sergeant all the way to captain, and here you go, control these kids and send them into battle.
Yeah, they actually talked about inductee in I think it was the first book of the Siege of Terra, the Solar War, and those guys definitely seemed different compared to regular Marines, at least in the way they were presented. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing them, how they get presented on the tabletop as a whole.
Yeah, if they get like different Legion rules or something like that. Even if they don't, I mean, it's a cool way to build your army around theming of the lesser trained or lesser cultural significance.
I could actually see an actual different change in the stat line, like because they don't, like the way they're presented in the book. Go ahead.
No, it's like Penal Legion with IG. Like, I mean, they're legit different stat line.
Yeah. In the book, where they get talked about, they were presented as more hand-to-hand based and not really shooting as much. So maybe they'll have different weapon options for an inductee squad. Maybe they'll have like a 4-weapon skill and a 3 ballistic skill. Something kind of different to set them out. Probably a different leadership, maybe. Heck, who knows? I just think they're going to be kind of cool. I can't wait to see and hope for the modeling options that we get if we actually see an actual range for them released.
Yeah, and the specifically what was really surprising to me was the Ultramarines one that has the stripe. It's not just like the sergeant or veteran stripe, you know, from 40K, but it's like hazard striping on it.
Yeah, it's a dotted line.
Yeah, and that is from the Ultramarine helmet upgrade kit, has all those lines scribed into it. So now we know at least why those lines were all scribed all over the place.
Yep.
So maybe all those resin upgrades will be a way for GW to say, okay, this is an easy way for you to mark your inductee.
Yeah, certainly possible. otherwise, from there, we did get news that autumn, we are getting a Primarch, and it is not Khan on bike. I really, really expected it to be Khan on bike because he still has rules, as far as I recall. And seeing him still absent from play is frustrating, if not concerning, but
Yep.
seemingly that suggests that we will possibly be getting a revisit of either Dorn or Sanguinius to me.
Yeah, I specifically mentioned someone that is changed during the Heresy. So that could be Dorn, that could be Sanguinius, that could even be Alfarius, Duncan's favorite.
How
It
did
could be-
Golden change? He just become more emo?
That's Korax.
Yeah, or there's the one I suggested, which Ferris Manus without the head, which has been left on the horse.
Hiss.
Yeah, well, you know, he definitely changed during the Heresy.
The diorama that someone painted up for the Golden Demon of
That was
Oh,
crazy.
just incredible.
That was insane.
I must have missed that. What was this?
I'll
So
send
it's
it to you.
a Fulgrim versus
Yeah.
Ferris Manus fight, and it's called like Executing My Brother or something. And the trail of the blade is all flashbacks to their time together.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Here, dude. Hold on. I'll send it
It's
to
like
you.
a mural. It's just freaking insane.
Oh, that
Yeah.
sounds amazing.
And then someone did a Sanguinius and Cabanda like Gandalf and the
yeah.
Balrog falling together.
That was good, but for my money, the fact that you've got the whole like set piece that's supposed to sell it like the cover of a
Look at Duncan.
Yeah.
Look at Duncan.
yeah, the fact that you've got the backdrop to sell it as like a Black Knight library novel
Yep.
to me just pushes that next level.
There was another one. Hold on. I'll send it to you too with a demon.
Where did you put it? In a Discord?
I just sent it directly to him. I'll send it to you too.
I got it.
Hold on.
I'm dropping it in the
In the podcast thing.
Facebook chat.
Mother of God. That's just amazing.
Yeah.
Especially turn around that Cabanda that fast. That model's been out, what, 4 months?
Yeah.
Jesus. I don't care who ever did that. My hat is off to them. Wow, that's just amazing work.
I want
And
more
that-
pictures.
And that, oh my Lord, I want more pictures of that Cabanda.
Yeah, I want more pictures of all the things.
That hurt me.
They should have the Golden Demon pictures, assuming those won something.
Yeah,
If they didn't, that's crazy. If they didn't.
Yeah, then I really need to see what did win.
Yeah.
Yeah. It better not be that epic grot.
I hope the Epic Grot won, because that's the only one I saw.
Did you see the one that was like the hobby desk where they're building is it
It's
a
like getting ready
Kratos?
for Golden Demon.
It's getting ready for Golden Demon. It's a hobby table that's got a miniature Kratos getting built on it with the calendar and paints and everything all over it.
Yeah, see, that one just makes me hurt inside.
Because you've lived it too much.
I mean, I'm sitting here painting as we're talking, so yes.
The guy that won cosplay was a Imperial Fist Praetor with double Solarite power claws that lit up
my goodness.
like neon tubes.
Oh my goodness.
Oh,
I
that's
was
nuts.
I was really hoping that the Iron Warrior cosplay guy was going to win, because his stuff's just amazing.
There was a pretty good was it Abaddon or Horus that had like the lit up collar around the dude's head, like the red, lighting from the backlighting or whatever. It was pretty cool. Anyways, now that we're off in the woods,
Yeah, sorry guys.
it's okay. But Primarch wise, yeah, it could be any of the Ascended guys. It could be. We still don't have. Is it Fulgrim?
Snake
Fulgrim?
We'll probably get Snake Fulgrim in plastic.
Probably.
It's because they've been trying to keep them all in 40K
Yeah, the
as
same
well.
way Mortarion and Demon Maggie were in that. Yep.
And Angron. Yeah.
They could do a 2-for-1 and do a dead Alfarius and dead Omicron at the same at the same time.
But tis.
But Alfarius isn't dead, because any story that involves him is definitely coming from some messed up perspective.
But I think it's frustratingly telling that outside of a Primarch and the two models they showed today, we got nothing concrete other than quote-unquote characters and upgrades out of Forge World.
Not
I'm
even
going more.
release date for the book. Like that's kind of surprised me. I expected like at least a ballpark for the book.
I would guess we're probably going to hear about the book's release date on Thursday.
Well, I mean, they already showed a picture of it. Like it.
No, we've seen the pictures.
It's a chalk boy. I mean, it's a huge book.
Oh no, I understand that. I'm just expecting that this Thursday, for the return of Heresy Thursdays, they'll do a preview of some of the stuff inside the book and possibly put it up for pre-order or announce when it's going to be up for pre-order. That would be my guess.
Coming back.
Did they? Okay. Did they ever announce? Did they announce when 10th is launching? I'm assuming it's the first of their fiscal quarter in June.
So I'm gonna bet June or July, probably about when we saw the Heresy book release.
So it wouldn't surprise me if we saw this book before that, to be honest with you, because they'll usually try to release something kind of big before the end of their fiscal quarter, and then they always release something huge at the beginning of their first fiscal quarter.
I mean, you say that, they'd basically have to drop it in April if they want to be able to see it show up on their books before the end of the year.
Correct. So it wouldn't surprise me if we get the book sooner than later, to be honest with you. But, I mean, who knows?
Again, I'm not going to complain if we do.
Yep. And I mean, it little bits and pieces have kind of leaked out. Sounds like we're getting Dark Admech in it. In addition, they also said every Legion's getting something in it as well. There's full ZM rules are in it too. New missions. What else am I missing? I know that there's Loyalist Thousand Sons, which I know my Thousand Sons friend here that I work with. He's super jazzed up about that when he saw the picture.
Yep, I'm really looking forward that they actually straight up say that they're from either the Raptora or the Corvidae, because I want them to be the guys that become the eventual Blood Ravens, because that just make me happy.
Mm-hmm. It would make me happy too, but like that's a pretty significant retcon, because the Blood Ravens were supposed to be sent off and away like let's say Space Sharks style, and then 10,000 years later, after nobody remembers anything, they get a transmission that unseals itself, and it's just like, hey, by the way, report to here, report to this guy, here's who you are.
Yeah. Either way, I'll be happy. More Heresy stuff. Yay.
Yeah. I'm excited to see what they do with it. Does that kind of summarize, though, everything we ended up seeing today?
I think so.
Yeah, I mean, there's also, I don't know if y'all are into it, there was also kind of the hint, like strong hint, that we're getting Heresy Epic too, as well.
Yes.
I read something about it, and I didn't understand. I didn't see the comment, and it was confusing because someone's like, well, it meant that, but then someone else is like, no, it didn't mean that, and I didn't understand the conversation.
So it specifically said, get ready for battle at a new scale. And so the joke is, it's either epic or it's a phone game.
They could be putting out a LARP.
Ooh, yeah, let's not do that.
Show like a large scale battle.
Yeah, they show. I think isn't there a video for it as well? They released too, or a teaser.
10 seconds long, and 8 seconds of that is the logo.
Yeah.
It looks like Dan. It looks like a History Channel battle. So you've got the little triangle bases pushing against each other. So
with logos.
With little logos on it that denote Titans and Legion units. So
I mean,
I think it's probably epic. Cool. I mean, we've got a lot of leaked hints and stuff for it. GW's kind of been preparing for it with all their other releases. They have the Warhound base that they forced removed from the website when it accidentally got shown in a picture for the conversion beamer. It wouldn't surprise me.
You're going to hear it here, folks. First, folks, this is Total War. Where's Heresy?
Oh, you wouldn't see me anymore. I would learn how to play Total War again. I haven't played it since high school. I tried the fantasy ones and keep getting schooled, but I would devote a lot of time to
that. Speaking for myself, yeah, I would too.
I would buy into Epic, tabletop Epic for sure.
Heresy Epic, yeah. I avoided buying into the old Epic because I didn't really like stuff they had at the time. But if they did Heresy on an epic scale, yeah, I'd probably fall into that.
Well, they are using Heresy logos for the icons.
Yeah,
I bought
that's
I've
what
got a
hurts
lot
me.
of epic stuff I've bought for Titanicus bases and for other stuff, and for Titanicus terrain as well. So it wouldn't hurt me to play epic with what I've got and then supplementing with new stuff, because my guess is it's going to be base sized anyway.
I got all my epic stuff. So I have a giant orc force in metal and plastic and all kinds of stuff, because the guy had left it in the back of his car and a lot of the plastic stuff had like melted and started to warp. And so he sold it to me for either $5 or $10. And it's literally like half a shoebox full of orc stuff. And I painted hardly anything, but it was like, even at the time, it was an amazing deal. Worth, it was probably $400 worth of stuff to buy all of the stuff he bought.
Oh yeah, easy. Epic stuff is really weird with pricing. It either it's basically give it away if it's plastic marines, or it's chicken's teeth if it's some of the older metal stuff.
This was like in the 90s when I bought it. I mean, it was so. But I would look at selling it, because if nothing else, it's orc tanks are cool enough bases for AT stuff as much as anything else, right?
Yep, that's why I bought some epic orc stuff, was for my Metallica.
Well, gents, before we move on to the next topic, I'm gonna call it. I slept like crap this weekend and I'm crashing. So, peace out. Have a good rest of the episode.
Dan, thank you for joining us.
Man.
Have a nice night, sir. John, if you would, do you want to get us started on the militia book? Kind of give us the quick and dirty here.
Sure, I'll go through some of the special rules, and I'll touch on a couple units that I like so far, and then we'll go through some things. So yeah, the important thing is the boys are back. All the militia have rules again for the most part. For kind of an overview on, obviously the most important thing that we've all kind of been running into is how does my 1.0 become my 2.0 army? There's some things in militia that the only things that don't exist are the Carnodons and the Aurochs. My guess is they're probably going to get a legacy PDF update the way that everyone else got them. A lot of things that are current Cadian releases got ported into militia. That is great, and that is bad at the same time, as far as just trying to update some of your stuff, because a lot of the gun options that you may have had before don't exist now, so you'll probably have to break a few things. Some things that I noticed from my list, obviously, the giant guns are still there. They got a lot worse, like we all thought would happen, because artillery in general got a lot worse. Also, the artillery special rule hurts a lot, because you're always using the majority toughness of the unit instead of using the gun's toughness. So you're always going to be hitting that toughness 3 guys when you're shooting at guns. So that comes into place with the big guns. It comes into place with the new guns, the new field weapons. In this list, you can take last cannons as troops, you can take last cannons as fast tech, you can take last cannons as elites, and you can take them in heavy support. And everywhere will be a different type of last cannon if you want. I'm definitely thinking that myself for my Cobra list, because I need more lasers.
Pew pew indeed.
Yeah, because the other half of that battle, other than knowing, is extreme violence and laser guns.
Yep.
So the thing that's a little weird with this book, in my opinion, are the main rules that come with it. They really did not want people to tie up anyone with militia units anymore. And doing that, they created a militia unit subtype. And anyone that has this subtype is subject to... they may only attempt to regroup as long as they're over half the models they started the game with. And it may not regroup, and it just continues to fall back until it falls off the table, if they're below half. Any unit of models that is the militia subtype and is falling back and is charged is automatically killed.
So no chance to rally or anything.
No chance to rally at all. You don't even take a morale test. They're just dead. So those two are really bad, and then it gets worse. A unit that is of militia models, but not monstrous or mechanized, that is locked in combat and then is successfully charged by an additional enemy, must make an immediate morale check. Pass that test, you're good. If you fail that, then the militia units must fall back as though they had just lost combat, and they can be swept. So basically, if you double charge a militia unit, you can kill them.
Kind of painful.
Yeah, and I understand it from a man that used to run 50-man blobs. They were really good at tying things up when you got them stubborn and you got them a discipline master and a whole bunch of other stuff. I think there probably would have been easier ways to make that written without having to say just kill them. The other special rule that this army has is called the third line unit subtype, and this applies to, I think, every vehicle in this list that I saw. Whenever you take and roll an armor penetration roll to inflict a glancing hit, you automatically inflict a penetrating hit instead. Now, the bright side of this is they never count as scoreable victory points, and this includes Lords of War. So you cannot lose the Lord of War victory point if your mission uses that, if you have a Baneblade. And being a super heavy, they ignore half the penetrating damage table anyway. So stunned, weapon destroyed, all that stuff is ignored anyway. So their Baneblades are pretty cheap. They're like 400 points, which is about what Baneblade should be in this edition. They've also got a mechanized unit subtype. It's basically just it's kind of like the Armiger and Dreadnought rules were. It's just specific rules for wounding and things like that. There's not a lot of things that have that.
I saw Sentinels in there.
Yeah, Sentinels are in there. They have that, and it's basically just like Armigers. It's, they can't be affected by poison or shred. Failed to wound rolls with Armor Bane get to reroll. Any model with the mechanized unit may make an attack with all the weapons it has when making a shooting attack, including as part of reaction. So read those if you're going to run Sentinels. When it comes to building your list, you're really going to want to look at your specific warlord traits, and now that you can choose them, you can build your list around this a lot easier. And the other thing you want to look at is the Force Commander's Muster of Worlds rules. So they can take two provenances of war, and these function a lot like rights of war. I'm not going to read all of them because there are like 4 pages of them. You can go crazy. You can have a all-mounted army, so everybody on horseback, or in my instance, chickenback, or you can have motorcycles. There's even special rules for a Void Jumpers unit, and this was an old piece of Rogue Trader artwork where you had recon guys with 2 las pistols and jetpacks. That's part of the survivors of the Dark Age, so you can actually take Land Raiders and Rhinos and Termites as troop transports. They do suffer from the third line rule that we just talked about, though. Alchem Jackers are back. Armory of Old Knight allows you to swap out last guns to last rifles. There's a bunch of different like relic weapons. Feral Warriors. You can buy chain axes for your 50-man blobs. Duncan, I'm looking at you. You can do the Warriors of the Plot.
I'm not talking about the world leaders, but the gun tribes. Yeah, that definitely sounds very interesting.
Yep. And you can combine that with Abhuban Muster, which allows you to take Ogrins as your line infantry, your troops choices. And those guys can take every option that's available to them as part of the plastic kit. So you can take the slab shields, which give them a better save. The sergeant can take a thunder hammer, so he's smacking fools around. There's ones that allow you to take extra tanks. So one of the industrial stronghold allows you to take 2 Lehman Russ choices as non-FOC heavy supports that can each have up to 6 tanks in each choice for 120 points apiece. That don't count as points for dying or anything like that because they're again third line in vehicles.
And you can do that as an ally as well, can't you?
Yeah, so the ally matrix for this is a little goofy because you're still limited by the same ally's choice, but those extra Russes don't count as part of that ally FOC.
Sorry guys. That's hurting me in my soul.
The other one that I was looking at was called Endless Horde, or Unending Horde is the provenance, but it allows you to return an entire squads to the table on a 4-up, and this includes anything that was attached to them. So medics, order masters, and this doesn't just work for the blobs. This also works for
Man squads,
grenadier squads. Those are all Imperialis grenadier squads can only be taken as an elite choice. So yeah, you can spam people like crazy. There are before you could only take 3 medics or you could only take 2 discipline masters. Now you can take 12 discipline masters per HQ choice. You can take rogue psychers if you go trader. The command squads are a lot more limited on weapons choices. Before they could take 4 special weapons, now they can only take 1. The basic militia infantry squad can now take special weapons or heavy weapons, depending on what you want to put in there. Again, this is Heresy, so you're just kind of wasting that. A lot of these units, though, have this new special rule called Strength in Numbers, and this is a lot like the tertios in Solar Ox. So this allows you to take, when a unit that is composed entirely of models with this special rule is selected as a troops choice, then up to 3 of such units may be selected to fill that troop slot instead of 1. So this allows you to take 3 militia levy squads, which can be 50 men each, per troops choice.
Oof.
So, I mean, simple math.
Oof.
It's 900 infantry as your 6 troop choices for the low cost
of your soul.
1,800 points.
So what you're telling me is that Josh and Zach are going to have a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah. There's the Cargo 8 from Necromunda is in here as a troops transport.
It is.
The Gorgon is in here as a super heavy troops transport. There is, again, I don't want to go through because I'll be reading this thing all night and my voice can't really take it with the allergies. But just be known that this thing is really, really, really customizable. The Arvis stayed in here.
There's a Beastmaster that you can take crocodiles and tigers and
the Beastmaster that the Sisters of Silence can take has nothing on the options that are available to these guys. You can take. There's a lot of models in this army that have shotguns.
Yep.
Anyone that's looked at shotguns knows that those cause issues when shooting Marines, and so you might want to be looking at that. I personally have been looking at the Stub Carbine, which is an upgrade most units can take that turn their Assault 1 guns into Assault 3 guns, and so my entire unit is pumping out 3 times a shot as normal. It's
someone I read somewhere that someone changed something on the actual auto gun stat line, so it's not matching a last gun.
Yeah, let me get to that. The Malcador is still here, so everyone was worried that those had disappeared. Problem is, it's just a heavy support tank, so it's no longer super heavy, so you can't split fire with it. And most of its guns are really kind of one-shot guns, so they're all going to be shooting at the same targets. The heavy ordnance is back. The downside there is you pay so many points for the Medusa upgrade, and it's, again, artillery is really weak this edition. Gorgon, Baneblade, Militia Armory. So auto guns, you can buy a lot of needle guns. I noticed that. There's a lot of weird little purchasable upgrades that have different rules.
Yeah, auto rifle and a las gun are basically the same thing.
Yeah.
Same stat line, basically.
Auto rifle, 24 inches, strength 3, AP nothing, rapid fire.
Las gun, 24, 3, no AP, rapid fire.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's the last gun. Then there's the long last, which is basically the sniper rifle, which is 48 inches, strength 6, AP 4, heavy 1, sunder pinning sniper. And then there's the last rifle, which is a different choice entirely, which can shoot 2 different modes. Volley, which is 30-inch range, strength 3, AP 6, heavy 2. Or blast charger, which is 18-inch range, strength 6, AP 4, heavy 1. But again, I like the stub carbine, which is 12-inch range, strength 3, AP nothing, assault 3. So I can triple my shots and then charge.
So it's interesting to note that even like some of is the Hotshot Laz still around?
Yep.
What's go ahead.
The Laz rifle is kind of what I would see as a Hotshot Laz. It can do that volley fire or heavy fire or blast fire.
They did away with the AP3 on it, though, and even the long las doesn't have a breaching or rending.
Yeah, but Sunder, Pinning, and Sniper are pretty good rules for Strength 6, AP4, and then you're taking that in squads of 10.
Oh, super capable just to dump saves on, like, the Artificer model or Apothecary, whatever it's going to be. Don't disagree.
Yeah, but the Recon squads used to only be 5 men per choice. Now it's 10. So you're getting more shots per choice as well.
Oof. So what you're telling me is that the glorious militia and cults are actually not just more numerous this time, but in many ways better and more well equipped.
So in ways they are. I see this as a converter's dream, but I also see the fact that you're limited a lot in what special weapons can go where. So if you're going to be fighting a militia army, your first target of priority is going to be trying to figure out where the things that can hurt you the most are going to be located. So, for instance, my old list used to just be giant hordes in front of very large heavy guns, and then on the outskirts were the heavy weapons teams trying to pick off anything that was going to hurt the big guns, and then the Carnodons would kind of scout out for just basically mass fire purposes. I don't see that working so well now that all the guns are going to be toughness 2 or toughness 3. So auto gun, there's a lot of strength 6 in the Marine list, and that's going to be doubling out everything that's in this. So if you're looking at things like the field guns, each field gun last cannon is basically the Doritos last cannon, and you can take up to 6 of them in a choice. So I think you're going to get a lot of firepower, but it's going to be even more glass cannon than it was before, and that's assuming that you've got all the heavy weapons or all the weapons where you want them. The single special weapon choice in HQ squads, in troop squads, and things like that. There is no like support squad of all heavy flame or of all basic flamers or all basic plasma guns. It's only the heavy weapons teams and things like that. I mean, you can trade them all. They come with mortars, and you can trade them all out to autocannons or missile launchers or las cannons for fairly cheap points. But they're still guard ballistic skill, and they're still toughness 3.
Okay.
I see them being a lot more numerous, but I don't necessarily know how much more killy they are. And
Do you
for
think
myself,
they will be more or less fun to play against them?
against them? I think it's going to be a lot different than it was, because you're not going to have the unmovable blobs that a lot of people ran, or in my instance, you're not going to just have the unkillable artillery. Against my army, your best bet was to either, if you had snipers, to snipe out my discipline masters out of my giant blobs and then charge them with something that would make them break, or if you could pin them, and then find ways to pin or tie up the big giant guns. With this list, it's going to be a lot easier to break the giant guns if they're taken, and then the big squads can't tie you up as much, because you just double. If someone takes a 50-man blob squad, just charge it with 2 units and pray for that leadership 7 or 8 on a discipline master to break.
Okay.
You can take a lot of things that will kill people and make you rerolls for the discipline master like old commissars used to, but at the same time, dice is dice, and so making them roll more dice is going to be a lot of where it's at. It's just like this entire edition in general, that I think leadership is a stat that they wanted to make sure got used a lot more than it was before.
I can't disagree. Leadership definitely does seem to be more painful this edition.
Yeah, and the Tech Marine with Servitors is totally gone, along with the Aurochs and Carnodons. So I've got a couple units I need to rebuild, but I think for the most part, I think this is going to be a lot more fun for new people to come into militia, because you don't need to, out of the box, build 200 infantry to have a viable list. You could do the Rust Horde list. You could do the cavalry list. You could do just tons of heavy weapons teams list. You could, each one of these things can have its own little niche now, whereas before there was maybe 3 or 4 good militia builds.
So do you think it possible that with this list, you could actually recreate some of the things in the books where they're like, not the mega arachnids for the generic Great Crusade army, but some of the other stuff? Do you think it could be something viable to create a list like that would be simulating something in the books?
Oh yeah. The one unit that was the female discipline masters running giant blobs of vat-grown male infantry.
The one from the Alpha Legion book, Legion.
Yep. Yeah. There actually is a vat-grown as a Providence, and there's tainted flesh as a Providence. Debased rabble. Each one of these has its own things that you can buy for these giant blobs. And then you could also do the Lucifer Blacks could be your survivors of the Dark Age, because that way they get access to termites and they can take all the special weapons.
Nice. So you could actually use this more than the actual Solar Rocks book to recreate things like the old 500, like the original armies.
Absolutely.
Who went out into the stars with the Marine legions from Terra.
Yeah, so the other thing that you add onto those providences is your warlord traits. So before, this was The one that most people took was Merchant Princeling, which you picked a gun, and whoever had that gun, one unit had that gun, would get +1 strength and -1 AP. So I'd always have strength 10 AP with last cannons, or strength or AP2 missile launchers. That's changed a lot now. The unit has to join that, but there's different warlord traits that can combine with some of those other provenances to do things like Connoisseur of Alien Curios. So you roll a d6 before the game starts, or sorry, once per game turn. At the start of any game turn, you can choose to activate this warlord trait. On the one, you take an automatic win with no armor saves, and then all other units with at least one model within 12 inches of this warlord, including the unit with the warlord, suffers d6 +1 strength 8 AP4 hits. 2 through 3, the warlord's controlling player must nominate one unit, friendly or enemy, within 12 inches. That unit takes d6 +1 hits at strength 8 AP4. And if no other unit can be done, then the warlord takes it. 4 through 5, the warlord and all models in the same unit gain Rage 2 and Furious 2 for the rest of the game turn.
Furious or Furious Charge?
Furious Charge 2.
Okay.
But Rage 2 is an extra 2 attacks on top of the Furious Charge 2. So if you're joined into one of those big bot squads, you're going crazy. And then you combine this with Gene Bulked, which on a 1, nothing happens, you start the game pinned. But on a 2 through 3, you gain special rules. On a 5 or 6, you gain other special rules or the previous ones, depending on which one you like better. So each one of these things has its own bonuses and negatives if you're going to start rolling on tables. Otherwise, you can just build that unending blob, or you can build the mounted army from hell, or the all types of crazy guns. It's completely up to how you want to build it.
So one thing I've always kind of wanted to build was a Thunder Warrior list. I've always wanted to do that ever since I found out about what they were and started reading more into them. Do you think you could actually make a functional Thunder Warriors list?
I would take all of the custom, like that Warlord, the Alien Curios thing, combine that with Gene Crafted or Warrior Elite, or actually, would be really cool for Thunder Warriors would be the Ogrins.
Yeah.
That way you know you've got the big, hefty shields, and they die a lot quicker. You combine that with the one where you roll on the table and they gain special rules, or they become pinned. That way you're kind of building into that.
The instability of their genes and all that?
Yep, exactly. Yeah, you could build some crazy stuff out of this list.
This sounds like I need to put a lot of time and effort into looking at that and thinking about hobbyness awesome possibilities.
Yeah, I will admit that I read through this thing, and every time I read through it, I think of a different way to build my current militia. So whether I'm going to, because I'm probably going to take the artillery apart, and just because I've got the squads are just have different guns. I might build a couple more sergeants, so that way I don't have to use them as levies anymore. I can just use them as base militia squads. I've got the parts that a long time ago, there was this forum that was casting up some basically chocobos or rideable chickens for infantry, and I bought some of those, and so I've got about 30 of those, and I can cast some more up to make a whole cavalry-based army.
With Cobra guys on top of them?
Exactly. And then for Ogrins, I've got, I need to find I've seen some files out there for the snake armor that was in a couple of the old shows.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, I've got, there's a lot of things you can do to build off of this. You know, the weirder ones where it's like debased rabble or feral warriors obviously won't work that well for Cobra, but that's there for everyone else to run.
So what's your overall rating for it? Good, bad, you approve? What, if anything, would you change?
I would at least give it a good B+. I think that there's a lot good in this. It's not perfect. It's not game-breakingly awesome, but there's a lot good in it. I think that there are things that could be changed, like the double charge unit and get wiped out thing. Third line is interesting, specifically because of how you could build it for, like, these are just a whole bunch of old tanks that they just found and are thrown onto the battlefield, which is basically what they say on the fluff for it. That one doesn't bother me as much as the militia subunit subtype thing, and the artillery special rules in and of itself kind of hampering a lot of the field guns and artillery bonuses.
Okay.
Like I said, I think the artillery is either going to be a glass cannon or completely useless. I can't figure out which yet. I want to build field guns and I might try to. I bought one box. I might try to test them out before I go buy 3 more boxes to make a full unit of the heavy last cannon, which is basically the Doritos
Gotcha.
super last cannon.
That all
But I mean,
sounds
like I
super
said, you can
interesting.
take last cannons as troop choices. So the heavy weapons teams are now support line troop squads. So all you need is 2 levy squads, and you've got access to all those super heavy, those big guns as your troops choices. And then the artillery pieces. I'm sorry, the field guns are your elites, and then your fast can be taken up with sentinels and cargo eights. Cargo eights are a transport, and then you can split the transports. You get a squad of transports, and you can have a different squad in each one. Or you can up armor them and get a whole bunch of heavy stubbers on top of them, and those can be upgraded to different guns. And then the cavalry squads, you have the ability to take a lance. It's okay, but I'd almost rather take the shotguns and use them as a way to pin and kind of hamper units as they're walking across the table, and then charge them with other things, and then the Beastmasters, obviously. But we can dive into maybe some tactics and stuff later as we go through and get some more games under our belts and things like that.
Cool.
So to kind of follow on that, if you got to see the militia show up in a campaign supplement and you felt that you got to add a unit to them, what would you most want to see?
Oof. I can't decide if it's something that's missing that was missed, like the Tech Marine unit with the servitors would be good, or if it would be like the Carnodon or the Aurochs, or if I'd take it in a completely other way and have maybe not just Ogrein, but mech suits that you could upgrade, like kind of burn out the pilot or something like that, push them harder, which would also go more into Duncan's Thunder Warrior idea. I think something like that would be good. The biggest weaknesses I see right now that I would try to maybe fix if you got a book like that would be just more special weapons in the command squad, or having a special weapons squad. I didn't touch on it, but the Grenadiers before, you could only buy special weapons for the Grenadiers if you took more than 10 models. You started out at 10, and then you bought 2 plasma gunners on top of it, so it became a 12-man unit, which made it really weird to transport a lot. Now it's back to you can buy 1 for every 5, and why not just put that 1 for every 5 on other units? That way you could put more special weapons out there. I think that's one of their biggest weaknesses. If you just want big blobs, you're not getting as much special guns if you're going to go that route.
And since like they're big blobs, you really don't need the smaller transports like an Aurochs, right?
Yeah, I mean, you could have the infantry squads themselves are still smaller, like they're a 10-man, then they can go to a 20-man. So those could take an Auroch. Those could take an Aurochs, or they could take a Termite if you took the Dark Legends of the Dark.
But there's no Aurochs and there's no Chimeras, correct?
No Aurochs, no Chimeras, no Carnodons, no Tech Marines or Servitors.
And not that I've seen a lot, but there's, the events that we've seen and played in, I haven't really seen a whole lot of aircraft, but they really don't have any air too, right?
They have access to flak missiles on anything that can take a missile launcher. So
that's not that bad.
Yeah, and the Sentinels can take extra missiles. The field guns can take some anti-aircraft upgrades as well. So it's not perfect, but it's out there. They still kept the Thunderbolt fighter as well, so it's not completely terrible. The Thunderbolt lost a lot of its amazing
Thunderboltiness.
Yeah, it lost its amazing come on, blow something off the table and move on ability that it had before, but a lot of stuff lost that. So I'm trying to kind of grade this on the 2.0 curve, not just
I understand.
And obviously, we're all approaching this from the rule of cool option, not the competitive. Oh, I'm gonna kick people around because I want to.
Well, John's gonna make a Beastmaster with that's probably a combination of a Ketchikan with a what do you call it, an assassin that has alligators, and deem him a Crocmaster. So
yeah, you know what? I would expect nothing less.
I've got some parts to build other Cobra Vipers that I've been wanting to build in the units. Like the Alley Vipers have been always my favorite. I can't figure out where to put them.
Well,
I've got
the shotguns right there. I mean, like you could do like maybe a grenadier team with shotguns or something like that as alley vipers.
Yeah, that'd work. And I've got parts for heat vipers, even though I built all the blue shirts with missile launchers, so they might be a different heavy weapons team unit. I've got ideas for stuff. Like I said, it's kind of funny that I'd kind of written militia off and just decided to full bore into knights. But ironically, the first time I was building knights, everyone convinced me to finish the militia first. So now I'm trying to finish the knights that I left off to build militia.
Overall, does it make you more inspired to build more stuff and have more fun with your hobby?
Yeah. Like I said, this is a solid B+. Again, we were, and we've kind of had some feedback that we were fairly doomer on a lot of the things that were coming out. And some of the things that I thought was going to happen happened. I mean, artillery did get the short end of the stick, but we kind of figured that was going to happen. Do I think all of the things that were added balance out that missing artillery part? Not entirely. I think it became different, and that's what was going to happen. So I think it's good. I think it's a good B+.
There we go.
Part of me really wants to build a giant blob of never-ending, keeps coming back infantry, but as much time as it took me to build all the other infantry I've got already, I don't want to do that again.
What were the robot vipers called?
Bats.
Yep. That's
battle android troopers.
That's how you build your bats, because they never seem to die.
They just drop them out of the back of a Valkyrie or something like that.
Yep.
I had bats as servitors because that made sense because they're robots and not smart enough to work on their own. So I don't know. I'll have to see if I can't find some more stuff.
There we go.
I've got so many ideas for Joe stuff.
Does anyone know if we got any announcement about the next novel in the Siege?
Well, they showed Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say we got the cover, but I was going to say the other thing we missed as far as releases go is the preview for next week's pre-orders is all of the Titanicus cards are coming back.
Yep.
Which is awesome for everyone else. I have them all already, but
there's also more what do you call it, the ZM thing. They're
the Gallo breed and
Gallo, yeah.
And the R beats are coming out as a separate set, but all those Titanicus cards were hitting, the open war deck was hitting like $250 on the second.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So these coming back I hope that's not a sign of the end of Titanicus, quote unquote, because everyone's kind of been saying it's a finished game, it's got everything it needs. And then re-releasing these is kind of a way to send it off and move on to Epic, which is kind of what happened back in the day anyway, right? They came out with Adeptus Titanicus, pushed it for a long time, and then as they got more money to make more molds, they made more stuff and pushed on into Epic itself. So
I mean, like, is there really anything missing? I mean, I know like Forge World's been doing a lot of weapon options for it recently too.
Yeah, so the things I would think that are missing are going to be the Titans that are mentioned in Fluff, but don't necessarily have models or rules.
Gotcha.
So the Night Haunt, the between Warhound and Reaver, and the smaller than a Warhound stuff. That's some of the stuff that's missing. Maybe some more customizability as far as cards go. Like, can I make my own stratagems and things like that? That would be kind of neat. But yeah, I think for the most part, it is almost a finished game.
And like, then they put the compendium book out that had like everything in it recently too, or like it went up for pre-order recently.
Yeah, so a couple of weeks ago, this is a replacement book for all of, and this is a little weird in Titanicus. All the other campaign books have been slowly phased out, and they pulled the rules for the legions that were in those into their own Loyalist and Traitor Legion books. And so that left all of the fluff and campaigness parts of those books kind of floating in midair because all those books were discontinued. They took all the campaign parts and put those into this new book that came out a couple weeks ago, and then also put half of the night rules in there. So you not only have to buy the book itself, then you also have to buy the Loyalist or Traitor Legion book for the rest of the night rules.
Well, captive audience, I guess.
Yeah, and so I don't have to buy that book because I already have all the old books. So it's the first time they've re-released books without shoehorning in something new to force people to buy the book, like they did with our Necromunda release.
All right. Well, it's
yeah, it's looking like it's about that time. Any parting thoughts as we wrap this up?
No, I think we're getting more releases. You know, I wish the timeline that we got from GW was the other way around. Like the infantry was first, and then the Vindicator was last, and the Night Lancer was a little further out. But I mean, you know, we're still going strong. We've still got everything we have. We're still waiting for demons, obviously, but other than that, I think we've got a lot of stuff.
I'm definitely looking forward to what next week brings.
Yeah, it's
I hope
definitely. Go ahead.
I was saying, I hope we get Heresy Thursday back. They hadn't mentioned that it necessarily was coming back or not. Just that it was discontinued until ...
Yeah.
Warhammer Fest. And Warhammer Fest was passed, but just because something is discontinued until X date doesn't mean that it's coming back after X date.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I hope we get it back.
But we'd said before that they needed to slow their roll. So, you know, if they're slowing Heresy releases, I honestly would like to see some of the things that we've talked about before, like the Warhammer Plus, how to play Heresy, or some more back-end articles from GW. Those type of things, I think, is where I would like to see GW go while we wait for these other releases.
Yeah, make more deliberate releases rather than just a larger volume.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's as good a note as any to wrap it on. Thank you, listeners, for joining us. I've been Jacob, and this episode I've been joined by...
Duncan.
Jack?
John?
Jamie.
And we're glad you joined us for this episode. Remember, stay accountable to your hobby and to your buddies, and we'll see you here next time.